He had nothing until she believed in him. Success came, but so did pride. Now she's gone. Can he win back the heart he shattered? Or is it too late? Stay tuned, because you are about to watch a beautiful story filled with love, betrayal, and redemption. Hello, family. Welcome to Storytime Betrayal. Kindly subscribe to my YouTube channel for more interesting stories, like and share this video to your friends and loved ones. Your support and engagement encourage me to post more videos. Thank you as you do so. Sit back, relax as we dive into the story. Tom was 30, but he felt 50. Life hadn't been kind to him. Every morning, he woke up before sunrise in his small, dimly lit one-room apartment on the third floor of an old building. The walls had cracks, the fan made noise louder than the television, and his mattress was thin and flat. The room smelled of old wood and cooking oil from the neighbor's kitchen downstairs. But it was all he could afford. Tom had no degree. He had tried going to school, but after his father died, he had to drop out and work to support his mother and younger siblings. Years passed, and things didn't get any easier. His family managed to survive, but Tom never had the chance to chase his dreams. Now, he worked 2 jobs just to stay afloat. During the day, he worked as a cleaner at a small office building. He scrubbed toilets, cleaned windows, and mopped floors. People walked past him like he didn't exist. He wore old shirts and faded trousers, always smelling faintly of disinfectant. At night, he worked as a security guard at a warehouse on the outskirts of town. There, he sat for long hours in a small guard booth, fighting sleep and the cold, watching over crates he could never afford. Most nights, he didn't sleep. Most days, he didn't eat more than a loaf of bread and a bottle of water. His shoes had holes at the soles, and he hadn't bought new clothes in 2 years. Still, Tom had dreams. He wanted to own a business, build a home, and have a family. But dreams cost money, and he had none. Love, that was another story. He had tried, of course. He talked to a few women. Some even smiled at him, until they learned what he did for a living. They wanted men with cars, nice phones, and money to spend. Tom had none of those. He was the good man with nothing. The kind they liked to say was going somewhere but never wanted to wait for. So, Tom gave up. He focused on work, moved in silence, and told himself that maybe he just wasn't meant to have love. His heart carried quiet pain, but he didn't let it show. Every day was just another day of survival. Then, one Sunday afternoon, everything changed. Tom was walking back home after a tiring shift when he passed by a small church. The choir was singing. The sound stopped him. For reasons he couldn't explain, he stepped inside. He sat quietly at the back, dirty uniform and all. No one seemed to notice him, except one. A young woman, seated 3 rows ahead, turned and smiled at him gently. Her name was Hannah. She didn't have makeup on. Her dress was plain. Her hair was simply packed in a bun, and she held her Bible with care. After the service, she walked up to Tom. "Hi," she said softly. "You're new here." Tom felt shy. He had gotten used to people ignoring him. "Yes, I just wanted to sit and listen." "Well, you're welcome here," she smiled. "I'm Hannah." "Tom," he replied. That was the beginning. They spoke after service. She didn't ask about his job, his income, or what he owned. Instead, she asked how he was feeling, how his week had been, and if he was okay. Her eyes were kind. Her words were warm. Tom couldn't believe it. Over the next few weeks, they continued to talk after service. Sometimes, she'd wait outside the church to walk with him. Sometimes, she'd bring him food packed in a small container, saying, "I cooked too much." Tom knew she did it just for him. He started looking forward to Sundays, not just for the message, but for her. Hannah made him feel seen. She asked about his dreams. When he told her he wanted to start a small electronics business one day, she didn't laugh. She nodded and said, "That's a good idea. You can do it. I believe you." No one had ever said those words to him before. And just like that, a seed was planted. Tom had nothing, but Hannah gave him something he hadn't felt in years. Hope. She didn't just see the man he was. She saw the man he could be. And that changed everything. Tom never believed much in luck. For most of his life, it seemed like the world had forgotten him. But after meeting Hannah, things started to feel different. Not because life suddenly became easier, but because he finally had someone who stood by his side. Their friendship grew stronger with time. They spoke almost every day after work, sometimes late into the night. Tom would share his struggles, and Hannah would listen, without judgment. She didn't pretend to have all the answers, but her presence alone was comfort enough. She reminded him that he was not alone in the world. One rainy evening, Tom invited Hannah to his apartment for the first time. He had apologized, embarrassed by the broken fan and the old plastic chairs, but Hannah simply smiled and said, "I didn't come to see furniture. I came to see you." She brought food with her, rice and beans in 2 containers, still warm. They ate together, and for the first time in a long while, Tom felt like he had a home. From that night on, everything changed. Their bond turned into love. Quiet, steady, and deep. Tom still worked 2 jobs, but now he had a reason to smile. When he felt tired, he remembered Hannah's soft words. "Keep going. I believe in you." Sometimes, she would come to the warehouse late in the evening to drop off food or just sit with him for a while before he started his night shift. They would talk about their dreams. Hannah wanted to start a small tailoring shop, and Tom still hoped to build an electronics business. Together, they made plans. Hannah never asked for much. She didn't care about money or status. She wore the same simple dresses and still attended church every Sunday. While other women chased flashy things, Hannah chose peace, loyalty, and love. Tom began saving every little amount he could. He stopped eating out, stopped buying anything he didn't need. He slept less, worked more. Hannah supported him in every way. She helped him draw a small business plan. She helped him find online sellers and clients. Sometimes, she even borrowed her friend's phone to help him promote his business on WhatsApp. And slowly, things began to change. Tom bought his first stock, 10 used phones. He sold them all within a week. He reinvested the money and bought more. Then chargers, power banks, and phone accessories. The profit was small at first, but it was steady. Bit by bit, he started earning more than what his 2 jobs paid him. After a few months, he rented a small shop on the roadside. It was just a container with a wooden table and a chair, but to Tom, it felt like a palace. Hannah was there on the first day the shop opened. She cleaned the shelves, helped him arrange the items, and even sat there when he had to step out for errands. She never asked for a thing in return. She saw his success as their success. They talked often about the future. Tom would say, "When I get more money, I'll expand the shop, then maybe one day, we'll get married." And Hannah would smile shyly and say, "Amen." Weeks turned into months. Tom's shop grew. He got more customers, added a second table, and hired a young boy to help out during busy hours. People started to notice him, started to respect him. The same ones who once ignored him now greeted him with smiles. Tom bought his first second-hand car, then a new phone. He moved out of his small room and rented a nicer apartment with a living room and a small balcony. And through it all, Hannah was still by his side, still simple, still faithful, still proud of every little achievement. One quiet evening, as they sat together in his new apartment, Hannah looked into his eyes and said gently, "Tom, God is blessing us. We've come a long way. Maybe it's time we start planning for marriage." The room went quiet. Tom looked away. He stood up and walked to the window, staring out into the street. "Marriage?" he repeated, as though the word tasted strange in his mouth. "Yes," Hannah said softly. "We've worked so hard. We've prayed together. Don't you think it's time?" Tom didn't answer right away. His heart was full, but his mind was confused. He thought about the new life he was beginning to live, the clothes, the car, the growing business. And somewhere in his heart, a voice he didn't recognize whispered, "Is she enough for you now?" He turned around and gave a small, uneasy smile. "Let's talk about it later," he said. Hannah's smile faded just a little, but she nodded. And deep down, something in her heart began to worry. She had fought the hardest battles beside him. But now that the sun was rising, she could feel a shadow forming between them. She just didn't know yet how dark that shadow would become. Tom stood at the window long after Hannah had gone that evening. Her words still echoed in his mind. Maybe it's time we start planning for marriage. He knew she was right. They had come a long way together. She had been there from the beginning, through the hunger, the shame, the nights he wanted to give up. But now, things were different. Life was changing. He was changing. With his growing business came attention. He was meeting new people, wealthy clients, suppliers, influencers. They invited him to business dinners, weekend hangouts, and birthday parties at expensive lounges. For the first time, he had access to a world he had only watched from afar. In that world, women wore flashy dresses, heavy makeup, and spoke with confidence. They were loud, fun, bold, and they noticed Tom. Now that he drove a car and wore designer clothes, he was no longer invisible. At first, he would still come home early, still talk to Hannah, still pray with her. But slowly, those habits began to fade. "Tom, you've changed," she said one evening as they sat in the shop. "You don't spend time with me like before." Tom leaned back in his chair and gave a tired smile. "Business is growing, Hannah. I'm just busy." "Yes, but we used to talk every night. You used to ask how my day went. Now, it's like you're always in a rush." He didn't respond. Hannah looked down at her hands and said quietly, "Are you still happy with me?" That question struck him, but he shrugged it off. "Of course I am," he replied. "You worry too much." But deep inside, he had started to feel something he couldn't explain: restlessness. He began comparing her to the women he now met, those who danced in clubs, wore high heels, and posted pictures in exotic locations. Hannah was still the same. She still wore simple gowns, no makeup, and didn't enjoy going out to noisy places. One night, after a party with some business partners, Tom met Emily. She was beautiful in a loud, bold kind of way. Long fake eyelashes, heavy perfume, designer bag, and the kind of confidence that made people turn. She walked straight up to Tom and said, "I've seen you around. You're the guy with the electronic shop, right?" Tom smiled. "Yeah, that's me." They exchanged numbers. From there, things moved fast. Emily didn't talk about God or dreams or the future. She talked about parties, fashion, and travel. She took Tom to places he had never been. When they went out, people stared. They looked like a power couple. She laughed loud, held his hand in public, and showed him off on social media. Tom started feeling proud. But in the middle of that glitter, a part of him still remembered Hannah. She had never asked for attention. She had never needed lights and cameras. She had simply loved him. Still, he let that part of his heart go quiet. Hannah noticed everything. The late replies to her messages. The excuses. The distance. One afternoon, as they sat in Tom's shop, she saw a photo pop up on his phone. It was Emily. She was in a red dress, holding Tom's hand at a party. Hannah looked up slowly. "Who is she?" Tom didn't know how to answer. "She's just a friend." Hannah smiled sadly, but her eyes were filled with pain. "Tom, you're seeing her." He didn't reply. "I think I already knew," she said. "I just didn't want to believe it." Tom stood up, frustrated. "Hannah, look. I didn't plan for this. Things are different now. I've changed." "Yes," she whispered. "You have." He looked at her. She still wore the same soft, plain dress she had worn for years. No makeup. Just a clean face and calm spirit. "You're too simple," he said, the words leaving his mouth before he could stop them. "You don't like parties. You don't dress up. I can't take you to places I go now. People will laugh." For a second, silence filled the room. Then Hannah nodded slowly, her eyes glistening. "I understand." She stood up, picked up her bag, and turned toward the door. At the edge, she stopped. "I never loved you for what you had, Tom. I loved you for who you were, even when you had nothing." And then she walked out. Tom sat alone, his chest tight, his head full of noise. He had chosen glitter over gold, but he was too blind to see it. Tom watched the door close behind Hannah and sat frozen in his shop. Her last words echoed in his mind like a soft bell in a quiet room. "I never loved you for what you had, Tom. I loved you for who you were even when you had nothing." He should have stopped her. He should have called her back, but pride held him still. A few hours later, Emily called. "Babe, there's a party tonight.
Get dressed."
I'll send you the address." Tom stood up, pushed aside the guilt in his chest, and got ready. That night, he smiled. He laughed.
He drank.
Emily clung to his arm, showing him off to everyone. "This is Tom, my man. He owns a big electronics shop." And people nodded in admiration. But deep inside, Tom didn't feel present. His body was in the room, but his heart was elsewhere, chasing a memory of quiet evenings with Hannah, of simple meals and shared dreams. Still, he stayed. Days turned to weeks. Tom and Emily became the new couple everyone talked about. They posted pictures online, vacations, dinner dates, weekend getaways. Emily picked out his clothes, styled his apartment, introduced him to her friends. They were loud, trendy, and fast-living. Tom felt like he was finally living the big life. But slowly, cracks began to show. Emily didn't care about his long days. She didn't ask how business was doing. She only called when she needed something, a new bag, money for her nails, or a ticket to a beach party. When Tom was tired, she'd roll her eyes and say, "You're always tired. What's the point of money if you don't enjoy it?" She didn't cook. She didn't pray. She didn't talk about the future. Everything was now. Everything was surface. And slowly, Tom started to feel empty. One night, after a long day at the shop, Tom came home to find Emily packing her bags. "Where are you going?" he asked. "Lagos. My friend's having her birthday party this weekend." "I told you already." "You didn't." "Well, I'm telling you now." Tom sighed. "Can't you stay? We haven't spent time together in days." Emily rolled her eyes. "Tom, I'm not your house girl. Don't be boring." And just like that, she walked out. Tom sat on the couch, alone again. He picked up his phone and scrolled through old photos. There was one from the early days of his shop, Hannah beside him, holding a broom, laughing at something he had said. She looked tired but happy. A wave of guilt hit him, but it was too late. Hannah had left quietly. No drama, no begging. Just silence. And silence hurts louder than any scream. One afternoon, Emily walked into his shop with a big smile. "Guess what?" "What?" "I told my parents about us. They want to meet you. Let's start talking about the wedding." Tom blinked. "Wedding?"
"Yes. You've made it, babe."
"You're successful. I can't wait to marry you." Tom nodded slowly, but something in him froze. Marriage? His mind traveled back to the night Hannah had said the same thing. The difference in the tone. The difference in the heart. Emily didn't love him. She loved his lifestyle, but he was in too deep. People already knew about their relationship. Their photos were everywhere. He had told everyone he had moved on. Backing out now would make him look weak. Foolish. So he stayed quiet. The wedding was fixed for a Saturday 2 months ahead. Emily chose the venue, a fancy hall. She chose the colors, gold and wine. She chose the photographer, the cake, the decorations. Tom just paid for everything. As the date drew closer, Tom became more withdrawn. His friends noticed. His smile was forced. His laughter didn't reach his eyes. One day, just 2 days before the wedding, Tom left Emily's house early. He had a headache. He stopped by a shop to rest, but his spirit felt restless. He needed air. He needed peace. He took Emily's iPad to play music, and that's when it happened. The screen unlocked to her messages. By mistake, his hand clicked on a conversation. It was between Emily and a man named Marcus. And what he read shattered everything. "Emily, can't wait to be done with this wedding. Tom's money is going to change our lives. Marcus, hope he doesn't find out about us. Emily, he's too stupid to notice. All he sees is makeup and hips." Tom dropped the iPad. His heart raced. He opened more chats. More proof. More lies. Everything came crashing down. He stared at the wall, memories flashing through his mind. Hannah's quiet prayers, her voice saying, "I believe in you," her standing in the rain to bring him food, her sitting beside him when the shop had no customers. And then, the last thing she said before walking out of his life. I never loved you for what you had. I loved you for who you were. Tom broke down. He had betrayed the only woman who loved him truly. And now he had lost her.
Tom didn't sleep that night.
After reading the messages between Emily and another man, his whole world crashed. The words he read weren't just hurtful. They were a clear reminder of how far he had fallen. Can't wait to be done with this wedding. Tom's money is going to change our lives. He's too stupid to notice. All he sees is makeup and hips. Those weren't just private thoughts. They were proof. Proof that Emily had never loved him. Proof that she was using him. And he had walked right into it, blinded by beauty, excitement, and ego. The next morning, Emily returned from the salon, smiling and talking about wedding plans as if nothing had happened. Babe, I picked out the gold shoes I'll wear for our engagement. They're stunning, the designer said. Tom cut her off. Emily, sit down. We need to talk. She raised an eyebrow. Talk about what? I know everything, he said flatly, handing her the iPad. She looked at it, then at him. For the first time, she didn't have a fake smile. Look, Tom, I didn't mean for it to go this far, she said, suddenly serious. Marcus is just someone I talk to. It doesn't mean I don't care about you. Care about me? He scoffed. You were mocking me. You were planning a future with another man using my money. Emily's tone changed. So what now? You want to call off the wedding just because of some messages? Tom stood up slowly. Not some messages.
Lies.
Betrayal. You never loved me. Emily crossed her arms. And what? You want to go back to that boring church girl? What's her name again? Hannah? Tom didn't answer. Emily laughed coldly. You'll get bored again. You loved my lifestyle, remember? You chased it. Tom looked at her one last time.
No.
I thought I loved it. But now I know what love really is, and I threw it away. He walked out of the apartment. That day, he canceled the wedding. He refunded what he could.
He didn't tell many people why.
He didn't need to. His heart was already carrying the weight of the truth. Later that evening, he sat alone in his shop, staring at his phone. He scrolled through old pictures, photos of Hannah smiling, sitting on the shop floor arranging chargers, praying with him on his birthday, bringing him food during rainy nights. Every image was a blade to his chest. He searched everywhere for her. Friends, church members, neighbors. Most of them said the same thing. She left town after you two ended things. She said she needed peace and a fresh start. Finally, one of her old church friends gave him a phone number. I can't promise it's still hers, the man said. But it's worth a try. Tom hesitated for a long time, then dialed. It rang.
Once. Twice.
Then, hello. Her voice was calm, quiet, exactly as he remembered. He froze. Hannah, it's me. Tom. Silence. I know I'm the last person you want to hear from, but I needed to speak to you, even just once. Still, no reply. I ruined everything. I lost the best thing I ever had. I just wanted to say, I'm sorry. Then click. She ended the call. No argument. No shouting. Just silence. Tom slowly lowered the phone from his ear. His heart sank deeper than ever before. That silence said everything. She didn't need to explain. She didn't want to reopen a wound that nearly destroyed her. That night, Tom sat alone in his shop and wrote a letter. Dear Hannah, if you're reading this, please know that I'm truly sorry. I broke your heart. I let pride steal the love we built from nothing. You gave me your loyalty, your prayers, your strength, and I paid you back with betrayal. You didn't deserve that. You deserved forever. If I could go back, I would choose you again. Every time. I don't know if I'll ever earn your forgiveness. But I promise you this, if I ever get the chance to make it right, I will. Even if it costs me everything. Even if it costs me my life.
Tom.
He folded the letter and placed it in his drawer. He wasn't sure she would ever see it, but he needed to write it. Tom knew one thing for sure now. Money could build a house, but only love could make it a home. And the home he truly wanted was gone. But he wasn't ready to give up, not yet. He picked up his phone and stared at Hannah's number again. I will find you, he whispered. And I will make it right. That brings us to the end of part 1. If you like it, kindly subscribe to my channel for part 2, so that whenever I post it, you will be the first to be notified. And also share this video to your friends and loved ones. Comment what you feel about the story under the comment section. Thanks for watching.